No accidents to report right now. Traffic moving along fairly well on your Friday morning. Another nice day weather-wise. Some peaks of sunshine, 74 for the high, 78 tomorrow. We will see maybe some scattered showers tomorrow. Not a washout, but just some scattered showers. And then the cold front moves in. By Sunday, 57 for the high, and then we'll have overnight lows in the upper 20s for a couple nights. So a little bit of a shift. Enjoy this while you can. 59 right now on 107.5 The Game.
The internet can be a funny place because here in the studio, Preston Thorne was watching a 4-minute compilation of doinks. Kickers hitting the upright for the uninitiated there.
Were you listening? Were you also doing audio to have the doink sound effects changed over time?
That's the next step. So I saw one, and then we got to distinguish whether it was different from the NFL doinks, from the CFP doinks, but we do have the sounds, and we will be bringing them to your ears here shortly. I just had to find them.
I'm thinking, as in the advent of the Nickelodeon games and things like that, to me, you do need a more cartoonish sound.
You
for
do.
And just let it just reverberate.
It's not as dramatic if you watch somebody miss a field goal or they hit the upright and it doesn't make that sound. But when you hit the upright and it goes boom like that, it's funnier. It's genuinely funny. It's amazing how that sounds. We did get a good text in earlier in the show on the Firehouse Subs text line. It says, "Have you seen the legs on kickers today? I'd be making the same. I'd be making some pretty cartoonish noises too if I was hit by a football that was kicked by one of those guys."
It happens.
And that's a fair point.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what noise I would make if I got hit by one of those, especially a Cam Little kicked ball. There's no telling what noise comes out of my body. It's probably the sound of my soul leaving my body. But when it comes to South Carolina, they are having players enter their facility. And they had one really big one. Now, here are the players, right? Jakarius Peak, left tackle, NC State. Quaysheed Scott, defensive back, Kentucky. Upton Bellenfant, kicker, Texas Tech. Not to sound like the intros on Sunday Night Football for team starting lineups, but those are the three players that have committed to South Carolina just in the last 24 hours. But the biggest one, from a football sense and a literal sense, would be NC State tackle Jakarius Peak. Now, he spent every single snap last year at NC State at left tackle. He has spent all but, really, if you look at the snap counts from his time at NC State, he's kind of moved around a little bit just in terms of the tackle position. He's only gotten one snap outside of the tackle position, and that was in 2024 where he had one snap at left guard. But he had 419 snaps at right tackle his first year, 9 at left tackle. The second year, 723 at right tackle, 98 at left tackle, and last year, all 848 snaps are at the left tackle position. Now, the measurables, 6'4", 308, so still technically doesn't constitute as a biggin based on our parameters, but when you look at the stuff that really matters, which I think pass block grade, if it's really, really good, matters. If you're like in the 50s, 60s, 60s can be acceptable. 50s, I think, requires some nuance. But he had an 83.7 season pass block grade last year. He gave up 3 sacks and 13 pressures, but they threw the ball a lot. Because you know how many dropbacks that there were? I guess, no, I think I read that wrong. But there were about, when it comes to pressures, 456 dropbacks on the season for NC State. So to give up only 13 pressures and 456 snaps, pretty good. And I think I would take that. And if you're only giving up 3 sacks in that time frame, which is amazing that they threw the ball that frequently when they had a running back like Hollywood Smothers, who is going to be playing at Alabama. But speaking of Alabama, that's who you stole this guy from. It was down between Alabama and South Carolina for Jacarius Peak services, and South Carolina is the one who ends up getting him. That may be the best portal get you have so far.
Because of culture, right?
Of course. Of course. Of course it's our culture. It's our culture. It's our weather. It's everything, right?
We beat Alabama because of culture.
Because of culture. No money involved.
Culture. Yeah.
The love of the game.
For sure.
He wanted to be a
it's
Gamecock.
a huge pickup for sure. And to be able to secure the deal regardless or not, because it doesn't matter. Sometimes it doesn't matter what all things being equal, if financial compensation is roughly the same, he still has to make a choice. And for him to say, hey, I want to go to play in South Carolina on this rebuilding offensive line, on this offense that wasn't good, on a team that was 4-8 last year, that does state something. So he's the top tackle in the portal, number 6 overall. That is a huge get. If we were doing recruiting, we'd be over the moon right now.
Oh, for sure.
And the biggest number that was important to me was not all those numbers were great, but the amount over multiple years. Don't want to jinx it. Who knows if this will happen? But he does seem to have been, at least in the past in his playing career, been very durable and has played a tremendous amount of snaps. And he played 13 games last year, played all those snaps the year before. So it's somebody who you seem, barring something freaky happening, he seems to strap up and play every game that he suits up for, and that's a positive.
He has played, try to do some quick math, over 2,000 snaps in his collegiate career.
And there is a level of some players are more durable than others, right? Everybody's susceptible to a major injury somebody can fall on your leg, tear your ACL, but then other players get injured often.
Yes.
And he does not seem to have that gene in him, so that's really cool for that, and I think it's a huge pickup.
I find that to be really exciting, the fact that he does have that many snaps underneath his belt. Still has this year of eligibility. I believe this is probably the last one. I don't think he redshirted because he did have 500 plus snaps in 2023. But in today's college football, I don't know. All I can do is guess when it comes to how much eligibility somebody has. But you know why? Because I'm not involved in the court proceedings that might happen to get him an extra year of eligibility. You never know. And at this point, I've just gotten discouraged from even guessing. However, all I do know is he can play this year. And it's not one of those things where, oh, well, this guy has used up his normal eligibility clock, and now we're going to try to get him in, because there are a lot of teams in college football, college basketball, college baseball, where guys have no eligibility left, and they get him in the transfer portal anyway, and then try to figure it out from there. And this is not one of those instances.
So in our I guess in our methods of evaluating our transfer portal, we said potential versus production.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is actually a circle. It's not two different. It's not two different things.
It's a Venn diagram,
right? It's actually a circle, because he does have the production and he does have the potential, being a former 4-star guy, having all the numbers to support that. So this seems to be as big of a home run hit as they could do in the portal.
And then when it comes to the other guys, looking at Quay Scott is interesting, because you need to refill some of those defensive back spots. Brandon Cisse is going into the NFL draft. Jalen Kilgore's going into the NFL draft. Miles Norwood got back into the transfer portal. So Scott is interesting, a South Carolina native, 24 tackles last year, 1 interception, 4 pass breakups. But one of my favorite parts about him, 0 penalties committed last year.
Okay.
And I'm cool with that. If you can play clean and not, commit the stupid pass interference penalty down the field, it tells me that you can at least be technically sound when the ball is being thrown in your direction, especially if it's down the field. That is a very interesting pickup, which I think is going to help them a lot. The kicker addition is very interesting. Upton Bellenfant, fantastic name. I couldn't have made that up. I think I'm pretty creative when it comes to making up names. I could not have done that. So
Harry Belafonte is what I think of every time I hear his name.
Solid.
Right, yeah. No relation, can't confirm nor deny. But he's a kicker at Texas Tech last year, was 14-16 on PATs. Don't love the 2 missed PATs. Only kicked 6 field goals last year. 0 attempts outside of 39 yards, but he was money on all of his field goal attempts. He was at Buffalo with Pete Lembo in 2024, where he made all 31 of his PATs. and was 24 or 27 on field goals, 6 of 7 from 30 to 39 yards, 7 of 8 from the 40 to 49-yard range, and he was 1 of 2 from 50-plus.
If he's good enough for Pete, he's good enough for us.
And I think, I could have reeled off all those numbers. If I told you he played for Pete Limbo, I think you would have taken it.
Solid. Sign me up.
So that beefs up the kicker room a little bit, but there's one position group for South Carolina on offense that they're looking to maybe add to. One, do they need to add to it? And two, is the player in question one that can help them right now? We'll discuss that next here in the early game.
"15 years. 2011. Long time ago. But it was a great time in Gamecock history. Winning national championships. Winning 10 games. It feels like a long time ago because that is what it was. But think about this. If you had signed up with AAA Heating and Air, your parts and labor guarantee would have lasted that long. 15 years. 15 years parts and labor guarantee. That's long-term peace of mind for your building, your staff, and the people that you serve. And when you talk to the folks at AAA Heating and Air, they'll get you a deal that has no payments, no interest for 12 full months. That gives you time to plan. That gives you time to budget. So getting started is easy. Just call AAA Heating and Air for a quote or visit AAAtoday.com. And when you tell them Presser from 107.5 sent you.
Traffic moving pretty well on your Friday morning, and we look forward to reporting that all morning long for you. 74 for the high today. We will see some peaks of sunshine. 78 tomorrow. Maybe some scattered showers tomorrow afternoon are possible. But that system is going to be moving into cooler temperatures. Sunday's high 57, but the overnight low will be 27. So a little bit different for next week for sure. Enjoy the next couple days. 59 right now on 107.5 The Game.
Now, one of the biggest pieces of news from South Carolina in this entire offseason was the retention of Nick Harbor and the retention of some of your other better wide receivers, right? Especially the young ones. Yeah, Vandrevis Jacobs left. Brian Rowe Jr. left. They added Jaden Gibson from the transfer portal from Oklahoma. You're bringing back Donovan Murph, who should have been a high school senior last year and was playing and getting a lot of valuable snaps for you. Jaden Sellers comes back. He showed a lot of promise. I think you did need to add more in terms of just the amount of players. But how do we feel about the wide receiver room as a whole right now, especially considering South Carolina is in the mix for Purdue's Nitro Tuggle? Great name.
Mm-hmm.
You must run at least a 4.440.
Sub 4.4.
Yeah.
If not, then we got to call you by your government.
Yeah. The name Nitro is gone. But he did have 395 receiving yards on a Purdue team that wasn't necessarily lighting it up, but he found himself a way to be pretty productive. Here's what I love. His average depth of target, his ADOT, 14. They threw him the ball down the field.
It lines up.
He was an excellent deep threat. There were 7 drops on the year. However, he did pick up 116 of his 395 yards after the catch. Only about 3.4 yards after the catch per catch, but he's somebody that can help you. What do we think of the wide receiver room right now in terms of who is returning and how much of a need is it to be able to land Nitro Tuggle, who has already had his visit here in Columbia, South Carolina?
Well, I saw Nitro on the internet in, what's my boy's name in Vanderbilt? I forgot. I just blanked out on his name. Coach.
Oh, Clark Lee?
I saw him giving Clark Lee a warm embrace in his office, so I don't know how this is going.
So it was like a dap, or a dap handshake, or a dap hug, or like a prolonged?
It was like a dap hug sort of deal.
Oh, okay.
So we need to be keeping an eye out on that. That being said,
Vanderbilt is an option. Vanderbilt and Auburn.
That being said, the wide receiver room was supposed to be one of the rooms with the most depth on the team last year. Didn't really come to play because the offense was putrid and we didn't never get a chance to see it. Some of the players disappeared. As far as regressing in season, namely Mazio Bennett did not have the year we thought he was going to have.
Forgot to mention Mazio.
So I felt like the wide receiver room was one of the rooms, the room actually in offense besides Lenoris, that had the best depth and the best folks that could make plays. That being said, you never discourage yourself from picking up in more options, especially if they're seasoned and they can make plays. And you do need to replace Vandrevius, who developed at the end of last year. So yeah, I would definitely say you want to make a play for that for sure.
Yeah, I'm one of those that believes you can't have enough good wide receivers on your team, because I was very vocal about this during the season, because how many times did we hear Mike Shula in a press conference talking about wanting to achieve balance? Like that was his biggest offensive objective, was to achieve balance, which to him was, running the ball half the time, throwing the ball half the time. I'm much more of a subscriber to Mike Leach's philosophy of balance, which means you just get more players involved. And if you're going to have a good passing game, I think the more players you're able to get involved, where a defense has to be able to account for everybody on the field to be able to beat you at any given time, makes for a much more dangerous offense than if you're just running the ball half the time and throwing the ball half the time.
Right, and especially in the wide receiver room, where you want to have different types of wide receivers. You want to have your deep threat, you want to have your slot guy, you want to have your possession receiver. You want to have all of those things so that it makes a wide receiver core. It makes an actual group. With a name like Nitro and with his statistics, this guy seems to be the speed guy, right? We want to have somebody who's a speed threat. You want to make sure you have that. So anytime you want to complete that wide receiver room and you get an opportunity to do it, you try and take it.
And he's not bad when it comes to contested catches, too. 50% contested catch rate. He had 14 passes thrown to him last year that were considered contested. He did catch 7 of them. So there is a little bit of a dropsies thing at times. He can be prone to it. However, you are not having an average depth of target of 14 yards if you're not a good route runner and you can't get yourself open, right? I think those type of receivers, I think of maybe like a Deshaun Jackson, because he's 6'1", 195, so maybe a little taller.
Neither. Who? You talking about Nitro or Deshaun Jackson?
Oh, Deshaun Jackson, neither 6'1", 195.
Okay, all right. I was about to say, there's no way.
No, absolutely not. But in terms of like prototype receiver,
he's the dude.
He's a guy whose average depth of target would be like 14 yards.
Throw it up
and have him outrun somebody. Don't throw it up because he's going to catch one-on-one. Mm-hmm. Throw it up because he's going to just burn whoever is covering him, and he's going to get himself open.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's always like those two elements of wide receivers that people want to put a receiver in, whether or not you are great at contested catches or you're great at getting yourself open, like you're a route technician. Now, the best of the best are the ones who are both. Like your Randy Mosses were the ones who were both. Sometimes you're one or the other. And I really don't care which one you are, because that's one of those like NFL draft buzzwords of this receiver just can't get open. I don't care if he can catch the ball when I throw it to him. That's what matters the most.
To bring up one of the superstars from the game last night, the playmaker, Michael Irvin. If he was being recruited today, somebody would be like, he's kind of slow. He can't get open. He's not, I don't know about this guy. But the dude, if you throw it, he's going to catch it. He's tough as nails. Those are different aspects that you need for wide receivers.
We'll go to the AAA Heating and Air phone lines. Our pal Ray is on the line with us. Good morning, Ray. Welcome back to the early game.
Good morning. Happy Friday morning, everybody. I'll tell you, have you seen a better freshman receiver than that number 10 for Miami?
Oh, Malachi Toney? Yeah, he's a monster.
Pulled up on my screen right now.
Monster.
I mean, you look at him, okay, he looks athletic, but, I mean, the dude, and I mean this word like all positive greatness, is an absolute freak, I mean, the speed, his ability to jump, leap, all that stuff. I mean, you talk about, the NFL scouts have got to be drilled. That's all I can say. I mean, the dude is unbelievable. Also, I know that Trinidad Chambliss is, fighting to get that extra year. I think, I tell you, Preston, what he has done this year, especially the last part of this year, and mainly like in these playoffs, heck with college, he's got to be a first-round pick if he gets in the NFL. I mean, how could you not take that kid with his arm and what he has? He has the ability to not get sacked. I mean, it reminds me of kind of Dan Marino with that quick release he has. I mean, that is just something you can't teach. But what a high-level game. I thought the quarterback play that game, especially in the fourth quarter, was just unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, Carson Beck, he let the game come to him. He made the plays. And, I mean, Miami's offensive line is incredible. You got to give it to Ole Miss as well. But, as crazy as this sounds, I said yesterday I was pulling for Miami. I hate it for Ole Miss, but the one good thing about it, at least we're not going to hear Lane Kiffin's name mentioned no more,
Yeah, it's no longer part of the narrative.
As crazy as that sounds, and one last thing I'll say, guys, I'm kind of glad we got the Kings off of our schedule next year. That's all I got to say.
Yeah. Appreciate the call as always, Ray. I'll react to the Trinidad Chambliss thing specifically and the luxury of having someone like Malachi Tony on your team, as well as discuss Dawn and the girls' big win at Arkansas and taking care of business. That's next here in the early game. Wanted to respond to Ray's call real quick before we get into the women's basketball dub from last night. When it comes to Malachi Tony, yeah, one of the best players in college football. Has been all year long. True freshman who is only a 3-star coming out of high school, but the luxury of having the Miami head coaching job is you don't have to leave the state to recruit, because that guy was a 3-star and he was just chilling in Fort Lauderdale. and you're able to get him. And guess what he's done as a true freshman? This.
Yeah. 5'11", 188, 3-star. I'm sure most of us would have been like, whatever. Come on, can we get some real guys in here?
Right. And that, it turns out that's a real guy.
Yeah, and also from the scouting compilation, it said, and listen to this, Ray, might not win many foot races.
What? I beg your pardon? It seemed like he did nothing but win foot races last night and against Ohio State, and won a pretty good foot race to win them the game against Texas A&M in the first round.
Listen, that's why sometimes you got to take a lot of that. A lot of times it's right, but sometimes if a dude is a dude, and this is the last point I want to make, winner, won the state championship as a quarterback, played wide receiver the whole year. The quarterback for his team got hurt. He takes over as quarterback in the third round of the playoffs, goes 38 of 53 for 524 yards. Dude's a winner.
Football player.
I think that's the type of dude you recruit.
Yeah, you get that guy.
Yeah.
Kind of like a Jazavian Currents, right?
Exactly.
Played football, played quarterback because he had to.
Yep, that's exactly
and guess what? He won the state title as the quarterback.
Great comp.
So if that should bring any Gamecock football excitement, I think there might be a little bit of a parallel between Malachi Toney and Jazavian Currents. And then when it comes to Trinidad Chambliss, too, I think maybe the only reason some people might not consider him a high draft pick in the NFL is his size, 6'1", 200. How much do I care about that? None. Because I've seen what that guy can do when the game gets tough.
I think the verdict's still out on if the smaller quarterback experiment is going to work. I think the verdict is still out on that. So if people are still willing to experiment, there might be somebody you take a flyer on for sure.
I think if you are to be a smaller quarterback, you have to be exceptional. And I think he does have that potential to be exceptional. One team that is exceptional, Gamecock women's basketball team, they went to Arkansas last night. And Arkansas, obviously not going to be a team that is very threatening. Obviously, when you're outside the top 110 in Bart Torvik's compilation rankings, I don't think it's a team that should compete and be on the same floor as South Carolina. But to Carolina's credit, still without Tania Latson and still without Alicia Tornabes. Got the correct pronunciation there.
Good job.
Still is able to win by more than expected. Bart Torvik had them expected to win by 33 points. They won by, more than 33 points. They won by 35 last night. 93-58, if my math is correct. Please don't check me. But things I wanted to see, other players step up and be able to give some juice in scoring. Now, Maddie McDaniel didn't shoot particularly well, but she did have 6 assists and led the team in assists in 26 minutes. That's what I wanted to see. I don't care if she comes off the bench and scores a ton. Can you be a productive part of the offense? And she was. In terms of other players that are in maybe elevated roles, McKeer got 31 minutes last night. Not a great shooting night, was 3 of 9, but was able to get 9 points and grab 5 rebounds. But she was able to grab 3 steals. I think that's valuable, too, because she can bring you something on the defensive end. But the high score of the night was Joyce Edwards, 9 of 13 from the field, good for 22 points, 7 rebounds, and was able to get 2 steals and a block, too. Medina Okote, 15 points and 10 rebounds. Tessa Johnson also shot the lights out, too. 3 of 4 from 3, 19 points. So they went to Fayetteville, took care of business. What did we learn? Well, they still dominate the lower end of that league pretty well.
As they should, handle things the way they're supposed to. But 2 of the things that you said you wanted to see ended up happening. Maddie McDaniel playing a larger role and Tessa being more efficient from the field. So I don't know if they were listening to the show or not, but they did exactly what you prescribed.
Took notes. They took notes, and they applied it. And I think the best news for that program last night wasn't what happened in the game that they played in. It's that Alabama, the team they bludgeoned in the SEC opener here at home, ended up beating number 6 Kentucky at home last night, meaning that win's going to age a little bit better now. Alabama was an interesting team that I thought I didn't think would maybe have a solid year because of what they lost from last year's team. But to beat the number 6 team in the country last night at home makes that win look a whole lot more impressive.
Sure.
Good for the resume. Good for your confidence, too, because you're going to have to play Kentucky, and Kentucky went to LSU and won not too long ago. So an exciting proposition there for this team. South Carolina is going to be in action again this weekend. They'll play Georgia. We have a Georgia double dip here at CLA Saturday and Sunday. 2 o'clock on Sunday is when the women's team will play Georgia. 2 o'clock on Saturday is when the men's team plays Georgia. Now, Georgia in men's basketball a little more threatening than they are in women's basketball because the Lady Bulldogs are 15-2, good record, but 1-2 in the SEC.
Georgia used to live in our neighborhood in men's basketball, right?
Used to.
Okay.
This team, they're pretty good. I excluded them because I like what they got going on this year a lot. I think they can contend to be a top 6 team in the league. Georgia's women's team used to do that, but not anymore. Hour number 1 is in the books. We'll get to our pal David on the other side, as well as preview tonight's big game between Indiana and Oregon next.
New year, new you. You might have said that. You might have made all your resolutions. Well, why not get started with the good folks at the Men's Clinic with Dr. Dan Boltnight, who's a respected local physician. He will help you get to the bottom of some of the reasons why you might not have been feeling well. Maybe you're working out and not getting the results that you used to. Maybe your brain fog has got you struggling to focus. Whatever it is or whatever it was in 2025, it doesn't have to be that way in 2026. The Men's Clinic, you'll find a non-threatening, comfortable environment that's open to hearing your concerns. And the best part, your initial consultation with Dr. Dan Boltnight is absolutely free. So come in, get your T levels checked, figure out what's going on with you, then make your resolutions, then follow through on your plan and become the best you in 2026. Don't wait. Call them at 803-875-MENS. That's 803-875-MENS. Or find them online at mensclinicsc.com.
In West Columbia, 12th Street near I-77. There is an accident reported there. Again, that's 12th Street near I-77. And 74, that's going to be our high today. Overnight low of 60. Tomorrow, 78 for the high. Might see a couple scattered showers possible. And that system will bring in cooler temperatures. Sunday, 57. Monday, 50, where the overnight low will be 27. So definitely a change upon us. But we still have 2 days to enjoy. Right now, 59 on 107.5 The Game.
Hour number 2 of the early game starts right now. I'm Elijah Campbell. He's Preston Thorne. She's Jen Jensen. And we're talking football in this hour because right now we'll be talking Indiana, Oregon tonight because in terms of college football and the NFL, last night was the first of 5 consecutive in which we get winner go home games.
And I don't know if we're gonna beat last night, dog. I don't know.
That bar's pretty high.
If we do, the bar to clear that game last night, that was one of the best college football games I've ever seen. All encompassing. Narrative, story, stakes, gameplay. It was one of the best I've ever seen. And if we get better than that, I am here for it.
Oh, if we get better than that, yeah, we're in for a lot of fun tonight then. We'll also have a blind resume exercise between transfer portal players coming up in the next segment. But first, before we do anything else, we'll get to the AAA Heating and Air phone lines. David is on the line with us. Good morning, David. Welcome to the early game.
Hey, good morning, Elijah, Preston, Jen. I hope y'all had a good Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Oh, certainly.
Thank
Hope you did too.
Hey, no, Preston, I agree, man. Last night's game was awesome. Yeah, that was crazy. See, I was pulling for Ole Miss, but, I mean, I'm not mad Miami won it. But when you say narrative and story, I have a question, and I'm just maybe I don't quite understand it. Where did this Carson Beck redemption story arc come from? Because it kind of seems like it's coming across as, he was down in the dumps at Georgia, and, he couldn't succeed at Georgia. That's like, he wasn't a slouch at Georgia. He had weapons at Georgia. Or is it more so focused on the elbow injury, which I completely understand that, but it just kind of seems, I don't know, maybe I don't quite understand this Carson Beck redemption story arc.
Well, David, he had his Lamborghini stolen, and he broke up with his celebrity girlfriend, and it was a tough offseason. But no, I understand what you're saying. This is my only thing. Maybe it's because I think the consensus is generally that he was nudged out of Georgia. And I guess maybe it didn't end the way everybody thought. But, yes, I'm with you on that. Nobody's shedding tears for Carson Beck. He's had a pretty solid run.
Right. That's just, and look, I think this is probably the most I've ever seen him run because I don't think he ran like this at Georgia. I mean, running the game-winning touchdown last night was super impressive. Again, not knocking the guy. Let me be clear. I'm just trying to understand where this whole, woe is me Carson Beck deal is because I just don't buy it. Like, Georgia's not a slouch, again, that's just me. So I appreciate the call, guys.
Oh, appreciate the call, David. Yeah, if anybody tries to sell the Carson Beck story to you as like a scrappy underdog story, please don't listen. It's like when Alabama was a 7-point underdog to Indiana, and it's like, yes, historically scrappy underdog Alabama, because Ty Simpson, like in those one of the press conferences leading up to the game, said, no one thought we'd be here. Yes.
Actually, the reason why you're there is because everybody hoped you'd be there.
Yes, exactly. You got in there because you're Alabama. Historically scrappy underdog. Yeah, no one's ever believed it.
I think it's more generally because the ending was sort of anticlimactic at Georgia.
Yes.
I mean, he didn't want to stay. They didn't want him to stay. Everybody agreed that he was good, obviously, but it was the injury, and it was just kind of like it just sort of was flat in the way it ended. I guess that's it. But no, Carson has lived a charmed life.
Yes.
For the past 4 years. He's been fine.
He certainly has. And, I think it all kind of maybe stems from his 2024 season because 2023, he was really good, and Georgia was an SEC title game away from playing in a 14 playoff. And I would even accept the argument that they should have been in the playoff anyway. But they lose that game to Alabama. They don't get in the 14 playoff. He plays last year. They're an SEC championship team with him. His numbers aren't as good. They lose a couple games, but are still able to get to the SEC title game. Then he gets hurt, doesn't get to finish the game. And then his NFL draft stock, as opposed to being maybe the projected number 1 pick like he was in the preseason, didn't get a grade that he really wanted, and I think wisely decided to go or continue to play college football. Well, Georgia at that point has already mentally, emotionally moved on to Gunnar Stockton being the guy because of how I thought he played against Notre Dame in the playoff in the second half, that SEC title game. I think he proved he could be that starting quarterback. But it wasn't like he went to Northwestern, right, for his last year of college football. He went to Miami, and Miami has a really good roster, and we saw what they did with Cam Ward last year, and they were, a meltdown of a second half against Syracuse away from probably playing in the college football playoff themselves, too, just last season. So it's not like an underdog story or I even think a full redemption story, but good on him for making the throws because he did make some throws last night, especially down the field. He didn't have to throw the ball down the field for the last few weeks. And the whole thing about him was their losses against SMU and Louisville were solely because he turned the ball over in inopportune times, and he avoided the bad turnover last night. He did have the one pick that got deflected at the line of scrimmage, but he made a couple of throws down the field, and in that final drive, that were big boy throws.
And maybe it's also because Carson offers what we've come to appreciate about college athletics is that familiarity.
Yes.
We know the name. We're familiar with the story, the ups and downs, all of the shenanigans, the Lamborghini,
the celebrity girlfriend, things we can all relate to.
Of course. Well, I was gonna say the Snapchat exploits, legend in the Snapchat streets, allegedly. So we know this guy, and I think maybe that's also part of the appeal.
Oh, yeah. The college football element of some familiarity we still have with a guy like Carson Beck. But in terms of college football familiarity, too, we're going to have to get familiar with Indiana's game because at 7:30, we're going to talk about portal winners and losers so far because The Athletic had a story, and we'll tell you where we think South Carolina fits in that mix. But I don't think you can do any type of portal evaluation of who has won and who has lost and starting winners without the conversation of Indiana, because they got maybe the best edge rusher in the portal. They got Josh Hoover as their quarterback for next season. They got Michigan State's best offensive player from last year, right? The guy who is widely seen as maybe the top wide receiver. Well, one or two. I think Cam Coleman's probably the best one, but a guy that was up there to be a wide receiver for them next year. Indiana's beefing back up. So I think in terms of familiarity, we need to be familiar with the idea that Indiana is going to be a contender on a year-in, year-out basis. Well, tonight they have the opportunity to get to their first ever national championship game because they have a rematch with Oregon. And if there is a potential matchup that I think can result in a game as good as we got last night or close to it, I think this game is one of them. I think this matchup specifically is one of them.
Now, why do you say that? Because not my argument, but an argument would say, like, the first time they met, Indiana dog walked them.
They did.
So what would be the argument for saying that this particular matchup is going to be a better
because
one?
Oregon is a team that even if they don't play their best, it still ends up being a competitive game. Indiana still had to make a couple plays at the end of that game to put it away. Mm-hmm. They were the better team by far, and it still was only a 10-point game, and a score late made it to where it was a 10-point game and made the last minute and a half useless. Mm-hmm. Because these are the two best coach teams in college football. Oregon's going to be ready to play this game. Now, if we remember the discussion of Oregon and Texas Tech going into it, that was maybe the closest game that we all thought would be the closest game going into the quarterfinal round. That was the one that was a 2.5-point spread, and Oregon showed that defensively they have chops too. They have the best. If we're talking about like out of all the teams remaining in the CFP semifinals, we'll include Ole Miss in this too. Best linebacking group of any of those guys, Oregon. They don't have the best defensive line of all those guys, but it's pretty close. Defensive backs are really good. They don't force a ton of turnovers, but they play it really safe, and they keep you kind of behind the chains, and they make you have to drive the field on them. They don't give up a ton of explosive plays. And offensively, Dante Moore is as good a quarterback as anybody's got in college football right now. And they have true balance on the offensive side of the ball. They don't have one guy that's going for 1,000 yards. I think Kenyon Sadiq at tight end is their leading receiver, and I think he's got about a smidge under 600. That ball gets spread around pretty evenly, and you have to account for everybody that's on the field at the same time. They're a football chameleon. They can win a track meet. They can win a really close game. And then Indiana is the most sound team in football, and they're going to make you have to beat them. I think it's two teams that don't beat themselves, and I think that alone has the potential for it to be better than it was the first time, because this is also our first chance at really getting to look at Dan Lanning trying to avenge a loss, right? They didn't repeat on their win last year when they had the opportunity. This is him with another opportunity. I just think these are the two best coached teams in college football right
That's
now.
a fair argument. When you say best coach, always give a shout-out to Gamecock alum Chris Hampton, promoted to defensive coordinator out at Oregon. So that's something that we should always be paying attention to and watching, especially if we ever need to go shopping for a DC. That he's doing a tremendous job out there. So yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see the game. I'm excited to see what these two teams have in store. I don't think it's going to be a letdown, and it's going to be, as much as we talk about college football, being spread out in a quarterback's game and all of that type of stuff. The way I think is leading more towards the NFL, where your quarterback is going to have to be good in a couple of very specific spots.
Yes.
Like, there's going to be 2 to 3 throws that they're going to have to make in order to win the game. It's going to be a line of scrimmage game, and that's where maybe the SEC has exported their brand of football everywhere else. It's going to be a line of scrimmage game, but there's going to be like 3 throws that your quarterback is going to have to make to win a game, and we'll see which quarterback can make those tonight.
Now, Fernando Mendoza's definitely had a better year than Dante Moore, and that's why he won the Heisman, because he had a better year than anyone, right? That's how you win that award. But Dante Moore, even in some of the games where he struggled, right? He didn't light it up against Texas Tech, but you know what he did? The exact same thing that you mentioned, is make 3 or 4 throws.
It's going to be like 3 throws that you have to make. It's going to be of either a conversion or a late drive or something along those lines. And they're going to have to put it in a spot where nobody else can put it and make a very specific throw. And I think that's the real value you're starting to see in quarterbacks.
I think back to that Iowa game between Oregon and Iowa earlier in the season, or actually it was late in the season. They're at Iowa. It's cold. It's rainy. They're down 2 points. They need a field goal to win the game. There's less than 2 minutes left. They're on their own side of the 50, and Dante Moore throws a rope down the sideline that puts it in the. That might have been like the best throw in terms of degree of difficulty. That and Fernando Mendoza's throw against Penn State, in terms of degree of difficulty, one of the best throws I've seen, if not the best, in college football this year, where he puts it right on the money, where only his receiver can get it. The receiver doesn't have to make an incredible catch to make the play. He just puts it right in the basket, drops that dime, gets him into field goal range. A kicker with maybe the best name in college football, Atticus Sappington, drills the field goal. They win against Iowa. They walk it off, and that kept their college football playoff hopes alive. That's one of the reasons why I like Dante Moore. Statistically speaking, he is not in the same level as Fernando Mendoza, but I've seen that guy win them games this year, and I trust him just as much as anybody in this type of spot.
Quick prediction?
I think Indiana wins by field goal. I think Oregon gives them hell, but Indiana's the best team in the country. They just execute so well. They run the ball incredibly well. Fernando Mendoza's got 3 wide receivers that are playing better than anybody right now. As much as I love Oregon in this spot, I will refuse to pick against Indiana until I see somebody actually beat them.
Dinosaur nuggets for everyone. I think that's his big thing. He likes to talk dinosaurs. I think I've understood.
Okay.
That's kind of his.
Signet, or
I'm sorry, Mendoza.
Mendoza.
Yeah.
It tracks.
Yes.
Yeah, wow.
Totally tracks. Yeah.
We're learning more about Fernando Mendoza every week. I did see a tweet where someone goes, I just want a podcast. They just want a podcast where it's Fernando Mendoza and Jameis Winston interviewing each other. That'd be hilarious.
That would. Okay, yeah, that actually would be really good. Mm-hmm.
Would love that.
I was actually trying to think of Xavier Leggett. That actually could be an interesting thing, but maybe that would just be two different spectrums. Maybe that wouldn't be as good.
Of players that we can get in a room together and just hear them discuss whatever.
Yeah, we need to come up with what would be a really good podcast.
Good room.
It's just
Dream
really
podcast combo.
Yeah, I think that'd be fun.
I think Fernando Mendoza and Xavier Leggett's definitely on there, along with Fernando Mendoza and Jameis Winston. Get Jameis Winston with anybody, and I think you've got me locked.
You could put him in with a basket of flowers, and it would still be entertaining.
Oh, Lord, deliver me from pick sixes. Coming up next, it's the early game morning meeting. We'll do a blind resume exercise, old offensive line versus new. We'll see if you can tell the difference coming up next.
12th Street extension near I-77. We do have a report of an accident there. Also, Screaming Eagle Road between Percival and McCord's Ferry. You'll also encounter a slowdown due to an earlier accident. 2 more days of more spring-like weather. 74 today with some peaks of sunshine. 78 tomorrow, maybe some scattered showers. Then it kind of gets back to a little more normal for us. 57 for the high on Sunday. Things will be clearing, but the overnight low of 27. Monday's high 50. So, again, more winter-like conditions on the way, but we'll soak in the 74 and 78 today and tomorrow. Right now, sitting at 59.
The biggest storylines of the year or the offseason for South Carolina going into 2026 is that out with the old offensive line and the offensive line coach, in with the new offensive line and offensive line coach. How are we going to compare the ones coming in or potentially coming in versus the ones leaving? Well, that's our objective for today's morning meeting.
Good morning. Good morning. Repeat after me. Today will be an awesome day.
Of course it will. It's Friday.
Let's go. Good morning, great today. Today will be an awesome day. Good morning, great today. Today will be an awesome day.
And we're going to start off with the tackle position.
Okay.
Now, there's 3 players involved in this one, but I'll give you the first 2. Player A has 1,267 career snaps. Over the last 2 years, the pass block grade has improved from 58.6 to 66.4. Run block grade has improved from 58.3 to 69.1. This player has given up 0 sacks last year, only 11 pressures, but 7 penalties last year. This player is also 6'7", 335. Kids in the car are going nuts. That's what we want to do. Player B, 1,462 career snaps, so almost 200 more career snaps than player A. In the last 2 years, the pass block grade has gone down from 51.5 to 48.5. Run block grade has gone up from 48.1 to 52.2. This player has given up 7 sacks, 32 pressures, has committed 6 penalties, and is 6'7", 300 pounds.
Give me lineman A.
Lineman A is Louisiana Lafayette Bryant Williams. Player B is Josiah Thompson. Now I'll introduce a player C. So remember those numbers from player A.
Mm-hmm.
Player C, in terms of career snaps, over 2,000 career snaps. When it comes to pass block grade increase from one year to the next, 79.5 last year to 83.7 this year. Run block grade has gone down from 75.7 to 66.5. When it comes to sacks, this player's given up 3 sacks last season, 13 pressures compared to the 11 from player A. Player A committed 7 penalties. This player has committed 8 penalties. Would you rather have player A or player C?
I'm going to stick with player A.
Player A still, Bryant Williams from Louisiana Lafayette. Player C is Jacarius Peak, the left tackle from NC State who committed yesterday.
Okay.
So based on the resume right there, you would take Bryant Williams 1, and I assume you'd probably take Jacarius Peak 2 and then Josiah Thompson 3.
Yes. I mean, a lot of those numbers were similar, namely the statures and things of that nature, so you getting it won't look different as far as how they fill out the laundry. But when you see those numbers compared to everybody else, I mean, we kept saying that Josiah regressed, but 7, the sack number is huge. The pressure number
32
is huge,
pressures.
and the penalty number is huge. I mean, those are 3 things that you do not want from an offensive lineman.
almost felt like automatic disqualifier.
Aside from, I mean, if you're doing truly blind resume, there's no way I would say that which one of these guys was the 5-star dude coming out of high school.
Right. I think you would say player A.
You would definitely not say player B, who was Josiah. So, okay, blind resume holds true.
Now for the second one. Player A, 1,314 career snaps.
Mm-hmm.
The last 2 years, the pass block grade went down a little bit from 62.3 to 60.8. Run block grade went down a little bit too, 68.4 to 55.7. Gave up 4 sacks, 18 pressures, and 7 penalties last year. 6'3", 335. Player B, 573 career snaps, so significantly fewer snaps. The last 2 years, the pass block grade has gone down from 82.6 to 71.6. Run block grade has gone down from 65.5 to 61.3. However, this player gave up only 1 sack and 11 pressures last year, only 2 penalties, 6'5", 360.
Yeah, I have a sneaky suspicion who player A is, and breaking the fourth wall here. I don't know.
Yeah. Preston has no clue.
I don't know, but I have a sneaky suspicion. I'm gonna go with player B.
Player B is Never Nervous Hank Purvis from Purdue. Player A is Trovon Ball.
That's what I thought. And I think I'm just as familiar. Just when I hear those outlandish sack, pressure, and penalty numbers, I'm like, oh, that's got to be one of our guys. You know what I'm saying? Like, just knowing what our statistics was, like, I don't know who it is, but that sounds like somebody that played on our offensive line.
The only thing I found to be really surprising was just like the total significant number of career snaps in terms of the disparity.
So Tro has played a lot for us.
Played a lot.
He did play a lot, so that hints towards his durability. Do you have any reason as to why Never Nervous Hank Purvis has played that number of snaps? Or is it an injury issue? Is it just a timing issue?
Could be injury. Not quite sure with his injury history, but he is a big fella, so I guess if you do get hurt, like if it's like a leg injury or something, it could be harder to recover. Again, 6'5", 360.
It's a big boy.
It's a very big boy. Very large.
A big to the point where I'm like, all right, do we need to get on this nutrition plan? Like, do we want to carry 360 into the season? Is that going to be conducive to running this type of offense where we're going to have to really, really be up-tempo, up-pace, getting on the ball? That might be something that we you're coming down to Columbia, man. You don't need the extra layer of fur that you needed in Purdue. You know what I'm saying?
Right. That helps for warmth.
Yeah, you don't need that here.
We have plenty of warmth.
Jen just told us what it was. It's going to be 70 degrees tomorrow. It's going to be,
yeah.
I wonder if he's here. He's like, oh my God.
Well, and especially when you think about what the weather's going to be for the Bears-Packers game tomorrow night, where it's going to feel like about 9 and snow and all this kind of stuff. Dude, yeah, come here and enjoy.
He's calling his boys back in Purdue like, man, y'all are never going to believe this.
I'm not going to wear a shirt my entire time here. I don't need to.
No, yeah, it's good. I mean, I will say, I lived in West Lafayette. I did a couple of remotes at Purdue when I worked for a radio station there. Great campus, great environment. You know, it's kind of a neat town, a little hilly, whatever. But come on, Columbia, South Carolina, we got it.
Yeah, especially now.
Come here.
Summertime, we might have to give them some oxygen masks.
Yeah.
And help them adjust to the humidity. But for right now, we're good.
We're good.
This is the best time to recruit.
Yes.
Yes. Oh, it really is, especially kids who are playing like in Big Ten country.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is the best time to have them in the building.
Do you want to be a Boilermaker or do you want to be a Gamecock? I mean, come on, what's cooler?
I think I know what's cooler.
Yeah.
Last one, player A, 1,392 career snaps. In the last 2 years, the pass block grade has gone up from 54.8 to 60.6. The run block grade has gone down, though, 63.8 to 51.8, giving up 3 sacks, 19 pressures, 9 penalties, 6'3", 325. Player B has played almost 2,000 snaps, 1,992. The last 2 years, the pass block grade has gone down from 79.6 to 65.5. Run block grade has slightly gone up from 59.1 to 61.3. 0 sacks, 16 pressures, 6 penalties, 6'2", 300.
The 16 pressures is a little concerning for the second one. I was immediately going to pick player B until you said the 16 sacks, but I'm still going to stay with player B. Give me player B.
Player B is Central Florida transfer Carter Miller. Player A is Boaz Stanley. So in those 3 exercises, you took the transfer portal player every time. So that would tell us that you believe South Carolina is upgrading when it comes to the offensive line room.
Yeah, I think so, man. And again, unfortunately, as you were going through, when you got to those sacks, pressures, and penalties, it's like, yeah, that was a guy that played for us because we weren't good on the offensive line last year.
Portal winners and losers coming up next.
Press here for our friends at Absolute Glass, the premier glass company of the Midlands, offering auto, home, and business glass repair. So if your glass is damaged, shattered, cracked, or broken, they can handle the job. If it's a cracked windshield, that's no problem. They'll come out to your location and they'll replace it for you, usually for free, and they'll work directly with the insurance to take away the headache. That's right. They'll come out to wherever you are, school, home, work, it does not matter. Absolute Glass will come out to you and take care of the job for you. Now, if you're at home, you're looking to increase the value of your home, you can do that with new windows and mirrors, and Absolute Glass will take care of that for you too. Windows, mirrors, shower enclosures. We say it all the time. If you can see through it, Ray and Marianne at Absolute Glass can do it. So check them out online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com. That's online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com.
Still working an earlier slowdown, 12th Street extension near I-77. Also, Screaming Eagle Road between Percival and McCord's Ferry. Also have an accident, Pine Ridge Drive at Fish Hatchery Road. And sort of in the White Rock area, Mount Vernon Church Road at Dutch Fork Road. Yep, we're going to enjoy these temperatures for another 2 days. 74 today, 78 tomorrow. Could see some scattered showers coming in tomorrow. Then it gets colder, 57 for the high on Sunday. Monday, it will be 50, but those overnight lows, those are going to be kind of brisk for a couple days, so keep that in mind. Right now, though, it is 59 on 107.5 The Game.
So the Athletic has their list of early winners and losers so far in the transfer portal window. We'll tell you who those are and where South Carolina maybe fits in those two categories. But first, we'll go to the AAA Heating and Air phone lines where Donnie is on the line with us this morning. Donnie, good morning. Welcome to the early game.
Good morning. I heard, your comparisons, and I agree. I mean, I wear garnet glasses and garnet contacts and everything, and, to go along with it. But are we comparing SEC quality guys that are going up against our guys to get those numbers? I mean, I don't want to say that the other colleges may be playing inferior opponents, but are they playing the same caliber defenses that Carolina's had to face all year to come up with those comparisons?
Now, some, yes. I would say Jacarius Peak playing at NC State. I think the ACC wasn't as bad as maybe a lot of us gave it credit for. Obviously, maybe top to bottom. I think some of the bottom teams in the ACC were really bad, but they did have to play Miami. And I think Miami has proven themselves to be pretty formidable. But there is that risk, and I think, Donnie, you do make a really good point that there is a physicality difference when it comes to G5 and P4, right? I think that gap between SEC physicality and other conferences is shrinking when it comes to the teams in the power leagues. But there is definitely a physicality difference between teams that are in the group of five in the Power Four. Now, what would make you feel better is that someone like Hank Purvis did play in the Big Ten, a very physical league, right? So that's a good sample size. Jacarius Peak coming in from a power conference, but someone like a Bryant Williams who was in the Sun Belt last year, not going to face the same caliber of competition. So that's a fair caveat to put in with somebody like him. Carter Miller at Central Florida. While Central Florida will always be kind of seen as maybe like the lower end of the Power Four, just because of maybe program history, the fact that they were considered a group of five school for the longest time until the latest round of realignment. But they did play a Big 12 schedule that did play a lot of really solid teams. Now, how much it translates is a legitimate question. That, I think you pair that with scheme and fit in scheme, I think matters a lot too. But that is just something you have to kind of take into account and with a grain of salt when you do any of these type of exercises. But when it comes to like things like penalties, I think it's a fair translation, or should be a fair translation from one to the next, especially when it comes to procedural stuff.
I think that's a fair caveat, and that's a question that I appreciate. That means y'all are listening. You're thinking critically as you listen.
Yes.
So I really, really do appreciate it. The penalties thing is, and unfortunately, I'm scarred because last year, one of the big things going into the season with Boaz Stanley was that he had not had any penalties, and he was so versatile in these positions. But he didn't have any penalties in G5. And I don't know what happened between last year and this year, but that was obviously something that he struggled with. So to your point, caller, I didn't see.
Donnie.
To your point, Donnie, there was a difference between what Boaz did in G5 to what he did in P4.
And then maybe this questioning, like the most, like I guess, head-scratching thing about the Boaz Stanley experience was he wasn't penalized a lot, but when he was penalized here, he was penalized with false starts as a center. I never understood that. Like, holding calls, okay, maybe. These guys are a little quicker than you thought they would be, and you're a step behind. And in order to keep your quarterback from getting hit, you grab a jersey and you tug it, and you take a guy down, and it's a holding penalty. I get that, but The procedural stuff is the one where I was like, dog, you've played a lot of football. Where's that one coming from? Oh, good call, Donnie. Appreciate it, as always. At number 803-404-6100. That is our Firehouse Subs text line and our AAA Heating and Air phone lines. But The Athletic earlier this week, this is from the college football staff there, so Sam Conn Jr., Antonio Morales, and Manny Navarro had their winners and losers from the transfer portal so far. The winners they highlighted, Indiana, which you mentioned earlier, Texas Tech. They got the number 1 quarterback from the portal and Brendan Sorsby from Cincinnati, and I think that carries a lot of weight there, along with getting someone like Wendell Gregory, who's a good edge rusher from Oklahoma State.
From Oklahoma State, but also from
here. Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, memory hold that one. Wendell Gregory, well, now, if you need an update, he's at Texas Tech now. He's gotten that Cody Campbell oil money.
Gotcha.
Congrats, young man. Oklahoma State they have on this list.
As a winner?
As a winner. Because the roster couldn't have been any worse last year, but they did land Drew Mestamaker, quarterback from North Texas, who led the country in passing. Penn State, who lost a lot, but then basically got a carbon copy of Iowa State's roster when they got Matt Campbell. They have Texas A&M here as a winner, and they did include Trovon Ball's name in there as one of the reasons why they have Texas A&M as a winner. Losers, LSU, which I don't think anybody's going to be shedding any tears for Lane Kiffin in that situation for not being an early winner in the portal.
To bring it off, Trinidad Chambliss was supposed to go. He ain't going. Kejuan Lacey was supposed to go. He ain't going. So he took a couple of L's, which he assumed they were going to come with him.
Allegedly tampered with Damon Williams at Washington to get him into the portal after he signed a contract. Damon Williams, yet new developments. Damon Williams, the quarterback at Washington who signed that $4 million rev share deal with Washington and then backed out 4 days later, is now going back into honoring that contract. He will play at Washington next season. All's well that ends well, I guess. And I think sometimes peer pressure is a good thing because I think he might have gotten peer pressured into going back to Washington.
Shame.
The shaming worked. And in this instance, it worked really well. And then Florida State as a loser, North Texas as a loser.
Really quick, wait, slow down. Florida State, why?
So for Florida State, I said, here's kind of like a brief synopsis here. Mike Norvell's return to Tallahassee following 2 10 and 5-7 seasons has naturally led to some roster overhaul for the Seminoles, but Norvell is also dealing with some of the program's best young players entering the market and testing the waters. So they have lost some players. They did land Quintravian Wisner from Texas, the running back, which I think was a pretty solid get. I wanted him to come to South Carolina, honestly. But it is mostly the idea that they have lost a lot of their best high school recruiting classes that have come in the last couple of years. And that was supposed to be part of the momentum, was that they did have good high school recruiting classes. They were going to have those guys come in and step up into larger roles, but there's been a mass exodus of those players.
Guess what, Florida State? You had your chance while the U was down, but the U is back.
And now you are the one.
You're going to struggle.
In trouble.
Yeah, that's going to be tough.
They are in a lot of trouble, and they said reportedly closing in on a commitment from Ashton Daniels, who's at Auburn, formerly at Stanford. I think that would help them out a lot. But so far with South Carolina, after yesterday, I would consider them a winner in the transfer portal. Lost some players, but I think with retooling the offensive line, I like what you've gotten so far. You're redressing needs, and you got the number 1 offensive tackle, according to On3, in the transfer portal. And to me, that is the biggest reason why I would consider them winning so far, despite basically having to overhaul the entire offensive line room.
Obviously, everything is to be determined. We'll see. But, yes, they are making solid progress.
Yeah. And still to see, I still like to see a running back added. I'd still like to see a tight end added to that room, and maybe another defensive back. And if you can get an edge rusher, that'd be awesome. However, I'm getting more and more convinced that Julian Walker maybe can't play on day one. And if he can, and kind of be that supporting role opposite of Dylan Stewart, then maybe you just don't need to invest a lot of money in the transfer portal for an edge rush player. I think that's really contingent on how you feel about somebody like Julian Walker. But coming up next, we'll revisit last night's big win in Arkansas for Dawn Staley and the women's basketball team. Did it tell us anything with their 30-plus point victory? And there was a game that happened last night in the SEC that I actually think bodes better for South Carolina than just the win itself, and we'll tell you what that is coming up next. Dominance. That is what South Carolina displayed last night when they went down to Fayetteville, Arkansas, and took care of business. Now, that's obviously the headline is winning the game, right? They played last night. They won. They did what was expected. Arkansas, not necessarily considered a contender in the SEC. They're definitely in that bottom tier. But they went on the road, didn't play around, and I think my favorite number from this game was the score after the first quarter, which was 29-12.
Yeah, because we don't want to give them a breath of hope.
Don't play around.
Yeah, let's. You know what this is. We know what this is. Let's make sure we understand. Everybody understands what's happening here.
Let's make sure we establish this early.
Yes, as you should. But with this team and with this program, as the institution that it is, we've gotten to the point as a fan base where it's not if they win. We assume that they're going to win majority of their games, overwhelming majority of the games. It's how they win and the things that happen throughout the game, and we wanted to see. And you laid out some specific things that you wanted to see from this team, and I think they got a lot of those accomplished.
I think they did because, again, this is a game where you're not having Tania Latson, still kind of ramping back up from that injury. And this is a great game to sit her out, right? And you're still waiting on the official clearing of Alicia Tornabese to be able to play and get onto the floor. And that adds another good big body on the roster with some really good basketball experience. I wanted to see somebody in an elevated role, especially off the bench, be able to come in and give you something on offense. And while Maddie McDaniel didn't shoot the ball particularly well, she was 2 for 8 and didn't get to the free throw line. However, she did lead the team in assists with 6, right? And only played in 26 minutes. I think you're going to need to see a lot of Maddie McDaniel in terms of if this team wants to be able to compete for a national championship. They're going to compete for it, but if they want to win it, right, you need somebody off the bench to be able to help, and guard play always helps because Tania Latson gets back healthy. You're looking at a Raven Johnson, Tessa Johnson, Tania Latson starting backcourt. Foul trouble happens in the NCAA tournament, especially if you play a team with good physical guards, and I'm looking at Texas as kind of one of those teams. You're going to have to play them again. I think you play them again later this month here at CLA. Of course, because they're always playing Texas, right? Thankfully, you only get them in the regular season. Well, you'll get them twice because you played them earlier, but only one scheduled game against Texas in the regular season, and Lord knows you're probably going to see them in Greenville too. But Maddie McDaniel dropping 6 assists and being a net positive for the offense and not committing a turnover. It was 6 assists without a turnover. To me, is the headliner for South Carolina when it came to what I was looking for in a game like this. Like, I expect Tessa Johnson to be able to drop 19, 3 of 4 from 3. So, I mean, she's firing on all cylinders there. I expect Raven Johnson to be able to score against this team. I expect Joyce Edwards to score 20+, and she did. She led the way with 22. But I wanted to see somebody be able to help you off the bench in an elevated role and give them that type of positive experience that once we do get to tournament time, and if you need somebody off the bench, say one of those guards gets in foul trouble, that the offense can still stay afloat in a game like that. And one of the stats that I love kind of referring to most is offensive rating. Now with Maddie, the offensive rating was a flat 100.1, which is, right at a point per possession, essentially. Would have liked to see that gone up a little bit, but I think the 6 assists did show me something from her last night.
With that being said, 2 things. Is the way forward with Joyce being leading scorer? Is that what we're developing here as a team?
I think so, and I'm cool. I'm really cool with that, especially when you have someone like Medina down low who's a great offensive rebounder. She's not a good offensive rebounder. She's a great offensive rebounder. Kind of increases your margin for error a little bit, and especially since they're both playing down low. If Joyce were to miss, you have somebody that's very reliable to be able to clean up the glass and get you second chance points. I think you can definitely run your offense through Joyce.
A similar dynamic to what they had with Aaliyah Boston and Cardoza, where somebody's going to be the primary point scorer and somebody's going to be the one to clean up or take some of that pressure off of them.
Yep, except you're going to see Medina and Joyce on the floor at the same time a lot more frequently than you did Aaliyah and Camilla. They did share the floor sometimes, but not as frequently as what these two are going to be. So I think that adds a different dynamic. But to me, the biggest win that South Carolina got last night wasn't just the game on the floor against Arkansas. It's what Alabama did to Kentucky. Kentucky's number 6. They're incredibly impressive. I think Kenny Brooks is one of the best coaches in all of college basketball. And what he's done at Kentucky is remarkable. They went on the road to LSU. They got a big win. They've proven themselves to be a legit contender here in the SEC. They go to Alabama and lose. And if you remember, just a few, short games ago, when Alabama came here for South Carolina's SEC opener, South Carolina took them to the woodshed in the second half. And being able to win that game by a pretty sizable margin, we go back and look at what that final score was, is 83-57 against an Alabama team that has only lost one game, and that is to you. That win looks a lot stronger now. That's going to help you out in resume season because Alabama is going to go up net rankings. The more positive quad one wins you can accumulate, the better. And I think the fact that you beat Alabama the way you did, and Alabama beat Kentucky the way they did, because it was a double-digit win, and it was almost a 20-point game at times in that game, I think really bodes well and reflects well for what you've done so far this season. So that was last night again. That final score, 93-58. South Carolina gets a big win at Arkansas. 2 hours down, 1 to go. Coming up next, we'll give you our thoughts on what happened between Ole Miss and Miami last night. Miami's playing for a national title, and the SEC as a whole is not, and that says something about the state of the conference. We'll tell you what that is coming up next to kick off the final hour here at the early game.
Highway 302 at I-26. A report of an accident there. Also, Mineral Springs Road near Cromer Road. Maple Road between Highway 1 and Mineral Springs. They're reporting an accident there. And Pine Ridge Drive at Fish Hatchery Road. And one other accident to be aware of, Screaming Eagle Road between Percival and McCord's Ferry. 74 for the high today with some peaks of sunshine. 78 tomorrow. Could see some scattered showers coming in. And then it gets cooler. 57 for the high on Sunday. 50 on Monday. Right now, though, 60 with some clouds on 107.5 The Game.
The early game, third and long hour, starts right now. I'm Elijah Campbell. He's Preston Thorne. She is Jen Jensen, my man Randy Young, in the Hawaiian shirt today. Made us brisket earlier this week, and it was delicious.
Fantastic.
It's very well done. Randy Young, a maestro with the smoker. He is in the video production room here at Studio 803, making sure we look nice and neat here on our YouTube stream, which you can catch us, The Game TV, over on YouTube. Or you just search in The Game TV. I think the YouTube handle specifically is at The Game TV Radio. So make sure to subscribe. Don't miss any of the cool stuff that we do on a daily basis. But before we get into last night's thrilling Miami win over Ole Miss to punch their ticket to the national championship game and tell you exactly what that means for the Southeastern Conference, we'll go to the AAA Heating and Air phone lines, 803-404-6200. My man Nathan, I haven't heard from Nathan since the end of high school football season. We got my man Nathan here right now to give us the goods on Joyce Edwards after her 22-point performance against Arkansas. Good morning, Nathan. Welcome to the early game.
Good morning, guys. And Elijah, nice to talk to you. It's been a little while. But
yeah, it has. It's good to hear from you.
Already working on stuff for next fall already. But, man, covering Joyce since she was in the 7th grade and watched her progress through the high school ranks. And now in her, I guess, year and a half with the Gamecocks, I agree with what you said. The offense can run through her, and I think what we have in Joyce, and people have seen flashes of it, is we have a 3 or 4 that can play all 5 positions on the court, and that is just, even for somebody who's seen her as much as I have, it's still mind-blowing that we have a girl that can bring the ball up and run the offense, and you just don't see a big be able to do that. And I think her game is so dynamic and so different that teams aren't really sure how to try to take her out of the equation. And I think, with the progression of the bigs that help her in the paint, that kind of frees her up to go one-on-one with somebody. And I will take her one-on-one against anybody. Mm-hmm. I like this team. I like the guard play of this team, even with Latson being out. I still feel like we need to be a little more consistent from 3 at times. But I like the chemistry of this team and being able to run the offense through Joyce, and hopefully the girl from France gets cleared, and that gives you another big. I mean, can you imagine 6'7" playing beside Joyce? Now what are you going to do if you're the other team? Mm-hmm. So I'm excited for Joyce. I really feel like she can be that. I think she is the spark plug that kind of makes this engine run, so to speak. And it's just been nice to watch her progress her game. I think last year she kind of hit that freshman wall about halfway through. Yeah, but she can tell she's put the work on in the off season, and she is really taking her game to a totally different level this year.
Yeah, certainly. Appreciate the call as always, Nathan. Always good to hear from you. Don't be a stranger, my man. But Joyce Edwards, yeah, I mean, the 21 points per game is a big thing. And anytime you have somebody scoring 20-plus a game, that's you've proven yourself to be a pretty good, reliable source of scoring. She's got 2.5 assists, but I don't think that even begins to tell the story of how good of a playmaker I think she is. And I think a lot of that stems from, she's got good passing ability as a big, but her footwork allows her to win a lot of those one-on-ones Nathan alluded to, which draws an extra defender, which leaves somebody open. And I think she's really good at reading those type of plays. And I think her ability as a playmaker is more than what just 2.5 assists per game would kind of indicate. And a lot of that does come from just old school, good old-fashioned footwork, because she's got that down better than almost any big you can find in America.
Yeah, and that's always the thing that sort of separates the ones that can really score and the ones that are just kind of there is, can they move their feet, and can they move their feet in tight spaces and being able to maneuver in the paint. And that's something that you always want to see out of a big.
And now Nathan did say more consistency from three, which I totally get. And like this team's a really good three-point shooting team. They're the 12th best in the country, but they just don't shoot a ton. There are 367 teams, I believe, in Division I basketball. You know where they rank in terms of three-point rate? 345th. Only 24% of their shots come from beyond the three-point line. It's old school, and that's actually, I think, playing to Preston Thorne's heartstrings.
Just like Coach likes it?
Just like Coach likes it, too. I think you get to 23-point attempts in a game, and Don's like, what are you doing? Whoa! Hold on. Pump the brakes. We don't even be doing all that. But no, this is, this team still, even with like the early season loss to Texas, they're top 5 in offense, top 5 in defense. You're getting into the meat of the SEC schedule. They should beat Georgia by about 30 points. But then coming into town on next Thursday, on the 15th, Texas. We'll have some fun with that one. So now that we get into the heart of the conference slate. But going back to last night, Miami punches their ticket to a national championship game by beating Ole Miss 31-27. And when it comes to looking at what really decided this game, I think it was Miami being able to control the game at the line of scrimmage. And usually when you control the game at the line of scrimmage, you are going to win more often than not. Miami ran like 30 more plays than Ole Miss at one point. I think going into the final 2.5 minutes of the game, Miami ran 30 more plays than Ole Miss. That's what a methodical ground and pound game is going to get you, because that Miami offensive line is maybe the best unit on that team. Defensive line, a close second.
Which you would hope it would be, right? Because they have the offensive line dude as the head coach. If there's one group that he's going to take pride in, it's going to be that group.
It's the fellas in the trenches. And they've proven that here in this playoff run, right? They're able to score enough points to be able to beat Texas A&M, but on the defensive line, you manage the line of scrimmage well enough against one of the best offensive line units in the country to win that game. Ohio State couldn't get much of a run game going against them, and they were able to run the ball efficiently against Ohio State. And then last night we saw them do it again. It wasn't an incredibly efficient running performance in terms of just yards per carry, but they were good in situations. They were able to move the ball up and down the field because of how well they were able to run the ball. And they should have won by more if it wasn't for a lot of mistakes. The offensive line, to their credit, they played really well. It's the reason why their offense was so efficient. You're able to run more than 30 more plays than Ole Miss was last night. But the penalties kind of moved them behind the sticks. Sometimes last night it did feel like Miami was their own worst enemy at times when it comes to penalties on the offensive line, dropped interceptions, a lot of silly stuff that killed some drives.
Silly stuff, i.e., why are we calling this flea flicker? Flea flicker. What are we doing?
Did he get inspired by watching Dave Canales?
I don't. First off, I think a flea flicker is one of the is a trick play from a bygone era. I think we can,
I think you can gain just the same advantage by running play action really well.
Bingo. It's like something that was fancy a long time ago, and we're still doing this. Like, I don't think we need to do this anymore. The flea flicker, I don't like it.
If it was just called a halfback tossback, it wouldn't be used as much, because I think just the idea of saying, hey, we're going to run a flea flicker is a little more enticing than the actual idea itself.
Here's what we're going to do. We're going to give it to the running back, but then the running back's going to give it back to the quarterback when the quarterback could have just had it the whole time. And again, this show, very big endorser of the play action pass. I think he can just get the same sort of idea accomplished. Anyway, when they were running the ball consistently, you felt like they could have just kept doing that, and they took themselves out of a couple of drives. But Overall, as I said at every hour, man, I think that was one of the best college football games I've ever seen. It's an instant classic. And I try and think like, I have the benefit of age. I've seen a lot of college football, so you're always kind of hesitant to say how good it was because of how much you've seen. But if you're like somebody who's in your formative sports years of watching sports, i.e., that 10 to 16 range, 10 to 18 range, like that's one you're gonna remember that forever.
Yeah,
because that game was awesome, man.
It's one of those games you'll always remember where you were when you were watching it and how you were feeling throughout that game. And once it kind of got to where Ole Miss took that lead, especially when they threw that touchdown pass, because Ole Miss had a hard time getting into the end zone. They had that explosive run from Kawan Lacey before he ended up getting dinged up and missing basically like 2 quarters of the game. But he had that explosive 73-yard touchdown run. But after that, Ole Miss would get the ball past the 50, and Miami's defense held up and made them have to settle for field goals. Ole Miss attempted 5 of them last night. But then when Ole Miss finally got in the end zone, that was when I was like, okay, now we're having fun. Now we're in for an elite finish to a football game.
That's where the old adage, when the defensive lineman messes up, it's a first down. When the secondary messes up, it's the touchdown. Because that safety came down, and it was the safety and Kawan Lacey in the hole, one-on-one, and buddy, he did not stand a chance.
Just like in geometry, angles matter.
He took the slightly wrong angle, and it was out of there.
He was gone.
It was a tough spot, man, and everybody could see it. But that's how the benefit of having a playmaker on your squad. Because the same thing happened on the other side. They got the ball to Malachi Toney, and he did one of my favorite football things, is splitting the defenders, and much against his scouting report, which said that he may not win many foot races.
False.
He won that one.
He did, and he's won a lot of them this season for Miami. I mean, our sneaky athletic thing is kind of like a joke because of like a trope that it is in football. Was Malachi Toney technically sneaky athletic compared to what his high school football scouting report was on 24/7?
They just had him wrong. And again, he's 5'11", 180, probably soaking wet, 3-star guy. I don't think there were the recruiting boards, except for the folks who saw. He was the typical dude that if you kept up with high school football, you were like, oh, no. He's for real.
Yeah, he's good. He's not a 3-star.
Right. And everybody else in the recruiting world is like, oh, he's just a 3-star. What are we doing? But if you watch high school football, I'm sure the folks down in Florida were like, nah, man, y'all got a dog coming.
And that's why Miami got him. They probably did not care about that star ranking. And Fort Lauderdale, they probably heard tales of what that guy could do, and rightfully so, they recruited him. But what last night also indicates is that it's going to be a 3rd straight year without an SEC representative in a national title. In between the years 2006 to 2022, the SEC won all but one of those, or all but, I guess, 2 of those national titles, because Florida State, that's not right. So the tweet I read earlier was false, because Clemson's won 2. I think only 2 of those years they did not get represented, and that would have been Florida State Auburn in the last BCS national title game and Ohio State Oregon in the first year of the playoff. But they've been a participant in every single one of those, right? And they won a lot of those, and rightfully so. SEC Nation can say that this is the best league in football on a year-in, year-out basis. But you can't say that anymore when you are 0 for your last 3 in terms of making it to a college football playoff championship game. And you can't say that now that we've expanded this thing to 12 games, you have failed to reach a title game in those.
Yeah, and around the nation, everybody's jumping to the easiest conclusion, which I do think there is some merit to this. It's not the whole answer, but it's a pretty clear line of demarcation. When rev share and NIL kicked in, all of a sudden the SEC doesn't win championships anymore. That is a simple explanation. I don't think it's the whole explanation,
No.
but it probably does play some part in this overall parity that has started coming in college football.
And I think a lot of it is just other conferences have gotten better too. I think there is an improvement. You see programs like Indiana get a lot better. Oregon consistently being more of a national title contender on a year-in, year-out basis. You have a team like Michigan who built it in their own methods of building it and ended up winning a national title in one of those years. But what last night did for me was kind of completely kill whatever little appetite I had for ever hearing what somebody would do in the SEC. if your argument as to why one team deserves to be in over another in the college football playoff now rests on, oh, well, if they were in the SEC, they would have this record, I'm completely discounting it. The SEC's never had a hypothetical that they lost. But we're looking at things that actually occurred on a football field, and we're basing these things on fact. And the fact of the matter is, you're now 0 for your last 3 and getting to a national title game. And that alone makes me no longer care. Even if I even cared a little bit about that hypothetical that fans like to use, I no longer give the slightest iota of a care.
Is your SEC card going to get denied next time you try to enter into the club? Are you turning your SEC card in?
I'm not turning it in. I'm saying if they revoke it, you're a fact denier. Because get to a championship game, man. Get to a championship game. The SEC won only one game in the college football playoff in which it wasn't playing itself, and that was a team from the American in Tulane. They got to step it up. You're losing the arms race. You got to be able to actually get back to the national championship game to get back to where it is that you said you were for about the last 2 decades. But coming up next, we'll reset on some of Carolina's transfer portal additions, and we'll get to our pal Barron next here in the early game. Look, nobody in life is completely worry-free, no matter how good you have it. But if one of those things that's keeping you from being one step closer to being worry-free are tax issues, kind of like business tax issues or income tax issues, I do have some good news for you, and that is that my friends at the Ecton Law Firm have been proving their local solutions for years to help thousands of families and businesses just like yours escape that pesky IRS maze. So if these troubles are bothering you when it comes to taxes, let that stress be alleviated by taking the first step and calling Ecton Law Firm today. That number is 803-771-9800. Just give them a call, and John and his team at the Ecton Law Firm can set up a free consultation to be able to discuss those issues and then attack them at the source. So take advantage of that free consultation by giving me a call at 803-771-9800, or you can always go online at ectonlawfirm.com. That's ECTON lawfirm.com.
Still working an earlier slowdown, Highway 302 at I-26. Maple Road between Highway 1 and Mineral Springs Road. And then Mineral Springs near Cromer Road, also a report of an accident there. And Pine Ridge Drive at Fish Hatchery Road. 74 with some sunshine today, 78 tomorrow. Might see a couple scattered showers before it cools down for Sunday. Sunday's high will be 57, 50 on Monday. But right now, a little bit of fogginess and tiny bit of mist, 58 on 107.5 The Game.
Oh, boy. Before we get to South Carolina's big transfer portal additions, I do want to address one thing that I noticed during the break. And 'cause every day we get a cut list, right? Our man Tyler Head, the maestro of sound here on these airwaves, prints out one of these or types up one of these, and Jen prints them out. It's the list of cuts that we have that we can play for audio throughout the show. And I didn't apparently get through all of them in terms of looking at them because I found one. And here's all it says. It's at the very bottom. It's from Fernando Mendoza. He says, I only have LinkedIn and YouTube on my phone. And if that's not the most on-brand thing, I don't know what is. And I don't know if there's a way to tell him, says, brother, I don't think you need LinkedIn for whatever your future employment is.
Yeah, it surprises him just like it surprises everybody else. He's like, man, I'm going to have to really get in these LinkedIn streets and start connecting with some folks and try and get on this venture capitalist or whatever his chosen profession was.
Whatever he thought he was going to be doing, it's like, brother, you're going to be quarterbacking the Las Vegas Raiders. So yeah. I think your path has been chosen for you at this point. All I want now is a LinkedIn post from Fernando Mendoza that says, this is what winning the Heisman taught me about B2B sales. We haven't gotten it yet, but I'm sure we're probably going to get it at some point. Before we get to the Gamecocks and the transfer portal, Ty has called in on the AAA Heating and Air phone lines, 803-404-6100. Good morning, Ty.
Ty, are you Ty?
Yeah.
Are you
How you guys doing this morning?
How are you doing this morning?
That's the real question.
Man, it's great to be a King this morning, man. I ain't gonna lie.
That's what I thought.
That game last night, I'd have been through so many emotions last night. I would say Ole Miss got one of the great quarterbacks. I like Ole Miss quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
He had me scared the whole night because he had just enough speed. He was making right plays at the right time, especially towards the end. When we got to 18 seconds and we was up, I was like, y'all gonna win. I was like, no, we ain't. It's 18 seconds still left. And the first pass, when he got about 15, 20 on that first, I was like, oh, man, I couldn't watch it. But it was a great game. But that was, like I was trying to tell my wife, that was the instant classic. The only reason I called it compressed and hit it right on the thing, on the mark. If I wasn't a Cane fan, that was one of the best games I've seen. I'm 40, so probably one of the best games outside of that Texas game, Texas and USC game.
Yeah,
probably one of the best games that I witnessed.
Yeah, that's certainly up there.
I love how Ty. I love how you said if I wasn't a Canes fan because I'm sure it wasn't a lot of fun for you last night.
Man, like I said, I don't like watching my team. That's why I like watching USC because I'm not invested in it. But my blood pressure went up. My chest was hurting. I even probably shed a tear at the end of that game. I ain't even gonna lie. It was a great game, though.
Absolutely.
Last question.
But thank you, guys. I just wanted to mention that. I just wanted to mention that. Appreciate it.
I wanted to ask you this. On a scale of 1 to Michael Irvin, what was your intensity level in front of your TV?
I was in. It was watching TV. Then I had to go to the corner because we made a mistake, and I didn't want to yell and wake all my little kids up. It was just like me and Michael Irvin. I was like an inch away from the screen the whole time. My wife was like, "Move, I can't see you. We got to clock in right now. Just lock in." But yeah. You know how it is. But I appreciate it, guys.
Ty, we appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you calling in, Ty. Yeah, Ty got into the close game stance, and I think everybody knows. Now, the real question is, was that Ty or Michael Irvin?
We don't know.
We don't know. But Ty got right in front of that TV. That's his close game stance. Everybody's got a close game stance. It's however you are sitting or standing and watching your favorite team play a close game. For me, it's always standing up, hands on my knees, looking in front of the TV, about maybe 10 feet away from it. Ty's was getting maybe a little bit closer.
Nice.
And sounding like Michael Irvin. But it was a good day for Gamecock fans yesterday, too. No, their team didn't participate in the college football playoff, but they did get, according to On3, the #1 offensive tackle in the transfer portal, and that is Jacarius Peak, left tackle at NC State. Now, if you subscribe to Pro Football Focus like I do and take their grades with a grain of salt, you'd be impressed with the pass block grade is because it's 83.7. A good 66.5 run block grade, only give up 3 sacks and 13 pressures. Jacarius Peak coming to campus, I think, is really going to beef up the offensive line. That was the #1 objective when it came to building this team in the transfer portal. And you got what, according to at least On3, says is the best option at tackle.
We might be happy as fans about that, but you know who's really happy? Lenora Sellers.
Winner.
He saw that grade and he's like,
your pass block grade is what, brother?
please, come here.
Please.
Yeah, that's it. That's exciting, man. You know, and obviously beating out Alabama for his services. And whenever we win a recruiting battle, it's for the culture. When we lose a recruiting battle, it's because of money.
Yes, those are the rules.
Those are the rules. So we won the recruiting battle, and he's coming here for the culture. Regardless of what it is a huge win. And obviously the offensive line needed to be retooled, and they're working on that.
And that goes along with adding never nervous Hank Purvis from Purdue, interior offensive lineman. And you got Carter Miller, center. So you got a center in the portal, an interior offensive lineman, and a tackle slowly coming together.
Retained the right guard.
Yep, you retained Shed Surratt, and you've got Nolan Hay at center as another option too, who I thought was maybe your best, most well-performing center throughout the year.
So right now we can play football. We have a line.
Yes.
We have enough to play the game.
Darius Gray, the #1 interior offensive line recruit in the country, also going to be here. Expect him to play a lot as a freshman. So you have a team that if we decided to play the game against Towson next week, you could field an offensive line, which makes me feel a little better about maybe the urgency of adding to that room. But they also got another big win with getting Quaysheed Scott, defensive back from Kentucky, an interception, 4 pass breakups last year, 0 penalties. I can always appreciate a goose egg in the penalty department, especially when it comes to a defensive back, because what are defensive drive killers? A, roughing the passer and personal foul penalties, and pass interference penalties. I can live with whatever the interception number is, but if you're not committing any penalties, that tells me that you're playing clean enough football and you're not giving away 15 yards on certain pass plays.
And his story is interesting because he's a South Carolina native, so maybe he's taking
right?
Marion. Yep. He's taking the Brandon Cisse route where we didn't get him the first time, but everything stayed good and we kept the lines of communication open, and he's coming back home.
And if the Brandon Cisse thing was a positive, which it was, if it tells you anything, it's that he can come back and make himself an NFL player.
Absolutely.
Did Brandon Cisse's success this past year maybe influence that a little bit? Could have, because Tankathon's latest NFL mock draft has him as the last pick in the first round to the Seattle Seahawks. It would be kind of fun to see him and Nick Emmanwori on the same team. But coming up next, we'll discuss the NFL playoffs. The Panthers, do they have a chance to actually win the game? And Jen's Bears get to play the Packers in some really cold weather. And we'll get to Dallas, who is on the phone line. So Dallas, hold tight. We'll get to you coming up next here in the early game.
Still getting things taken care of. Highway 302 at I-26, so allow for a slowdown there. Also, Mineral Springs Road near Cromer Road and Maple Road between Highway 1 and Mineral Springs. And yep, the forecast, pretty nice for the next couple of days. We're looking for a high today of 74 with some mix of clouds and sun. And then tomorrow, maybe a couple scattered showers, especially later in the day, 78 for the high. Things will cool down for Sunday. 57 will be your high, overnight low of 27. So getting into a more traditional winter-like pattern for us. Right now, though, a little bit of mist, 59.
Found my
Into breaking down the NFL playoff matchups this weekend. Again, last night was just night 1 of 5 straight nights with win or go home football.
I don't know if that's the bar, buddy. I don't know.
Woo, if that's the appetizer, how good's the main course going to be?
Man.
Good Lord, right? I mean, I know it's not like a traditional football Friday around here where we have the imaging because there's a Gamecock game on Saturday, but today is technically still a football Friday, and all the games are for the season. And that's the best part, is all the games are for the season. Before we get into any of those, we'll go to the AAA Heating and Air phone lines at 803-404-6100. Dallas is on the line with us. Dallas, good morning. Welcome to the early game.
Hey, good morning, guys. Love your show. I think it would be great, and I don't know if the attempts have been made or whatever, but I would love to see. We got a lot of great Gamecocks in the NFL now, doing really well, and I would love to see more support from them, kind of, like Irvin and Testaverde and Lewis and all that stuff. And I realize, these guys are working, and Lewis and all those guys are retired, and they have more time, but I would love that continuity of valuing former Gamecocks and then them returning just to support, our guys. Because we got a lot of guys that are NFL succeeding, and I think it would be very cool for the players and everybody, and for them to show them, we value you and we value your past performance. And I think Michael Irvin, the way I act the same way in, my man cave watching the Gamecocks. So I think there's nothing wrong with that. But, it'd be cool to see more Gamecocks on the sidelines, when they get a chance.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, thank you for the call, Dallas. And I think that's one of the things that makes last night so special. Like look at Michael Irvin and the success he's had in his NFL career, winning Super Bowls, being one of the best wide receivers of his generation. But how much he still cares about Miami is really special. And yeah, it's funny when he gets on all fours and it starts getting really performative, but it's genuine with him. That man is, to the wall all the time, right? There is no chill with that man, and that's what makes him him. And it was really cool to see for the honorary captains at the game last night, Edgerrin James and Ray Lewis, walk the team out to the middle of the field and be part of that and get to be part of this too, right? That's a great recruiting tool, and it's a good reflection of just like the family atmosphere of the program in terms of like once you were a Hurricane, you're always going to be a Hurricane, right? And I think there's an element of that with South Carolina. Would it be really cool to have somebody like a Michael Irvin-esque figure to do that? Yeah, absolutely. And why we don't see more of it, I don't know. I can't speak to that. I'm not a former player or in the offices in terms of who's giving out like the invites to come to games and stuff. But I think just like that element right there still exists with a lot of programs nationally. And it could be that way for you too, because I know that desire for the team to still be good does exist amongst former players.
Yeah, I would just say that there's been a lot of progress made, but there were some institutional things that were holding this university back from getting that done. But the guys that have gone on to play in the NFL, it is so interesting because they can have extremely successful careers, make a whole lot of money. But the thing that really still matters to them is how their alum plays on Saturday. That's the most important. Some of these old guy chats that I'm in with dudes that played in the NFL, dudes that have a lot of things going on, and this is still the thing that drives them nuts. They're still like tie, except it's South Carolina versus Missouri on a 7:30 on ESPN3, and they're like, what's going on?
September.
Yeah, and that is, and to your point, Dallas, that is the cool thing that I hope we can still preserve, and why college football is so awesome, because people have invested such formative parts of their lives into these places, and they still want to see them be successful.
Yeah, and that's like just the cool things about college football in general. Now, we had the fandom discussion with Ty, and we gave him the scale of 1 to Michael Irvin, how he was watching the game last night. Jen, your Bears play the Packers in the playoffs, and it took recovering an onside kick and Caleb Williams being Superman to beat them just a few short weeks ago. On a scale of 1 to Michael Irvin, what is Jen Jensen doing with her new television watching this game this weekend?
Yeah, I'm still feeling bringing that in. I thought these TVs were supposed to be lighter as they, time went on, but holy guacamole. Of course, I guess we didn't buy a 26-inch, so that was part of the problem. But anyway, yeah, I'm concerned. We definitely did not have a good game last week, and I think, honestly, they've got to start off strong. This business, it used to be we never could finish a game. Well, now we're finishing a game, but we seem to be starting to play later in the game, so we have to finish the game, So they've really got to start off strong. We just need to hammer Jordan Love.
Yeah,
for sure. Get back to the basics. Our offense needs to be better. I'm concerned. My worry, out of 10 being the most freaked out, probably 7.5.
Yeah, that's fair. And I think a lot of that's going to depend on, just when I look at this game, what Jordan Love you're getting if you're Green Bay. Because I think we've seen 2 different Jordan Loves this year. We've seen the Jordan Love that was the guy that made the Packers draft him in the first round while they still had Aaron Rodgers. That potential of making great deep passes down the field. When the Bears and Packers first played, you saw that Jordan Love, right? The high ceiling Jordan Love. But there have been games this year where he disappears. I think about that Panthers game earlier this year when the Panthers went to Lambeau and pulled off an upset where he made some crucial turnovers, and you could even argue was one of the reasons why Green Bay lost that game. If you get that version of Jordan Love, the Bears should win by multiple scores. But if you get that first Green Bay-Chicago meeting of Jordan Love, then I think we're in for a really good game despite kind of the record disparity between the two teams.
Yeah, I don't disagree. And like I said, I've just not been super impressed with how the Bears have played the past 2 weeks especially. So they need to regroup and pull it together because they don't need to be the heart attack Bears.
Nope.
They're really good at that. We need to cut it out. We're in the playoffs. Let's go. Bear down.
Jen's cardiovascular health is just fine. We don't need to test it.
Right. Exactly. If I want to have a stress test, I'll go pay for one. I don't need it in my living room. Oh, good gracious.
Exactly. Also,
So,
side note with
fingers
Jen's new TV. What a great game to break out the new TV for.
Solid
Goodness.
I know, right?
TV's batting 1,000.
And I will say, because, the story yesterday, we had found out our TV died. 17 years old is how long that thing lasted. So that, we felt pretty good about that. But, is it pretty much a man thing? Oh, this one's good, but this one's always better. Because I'm like, oh, this one over here is just fine. No.
Always looking for the upgrade.
Oh my gosh. Are you sure that one's going to fit? Sure, it's going to fit. Yeah.
Eyeball test works most of the time.
Exactly.
It works until it doesn't.
I'm glad we got something that if we open the curtains, the neighbors can watch along,
I do love playing that game, though. If I'm driving by a house and the curtains are open and your TV's big, I'm going to try to peek and see what you're watching because I'm curious. I've got a neighbor who's got the curtains open all the time, and I don't know who lives in that house, but you're my guy because there's always a ball game on every single time. In October, always playoff baseball, Monday Night Football, anytime I'm driving back home, always got the football game on. Salute. You don't know me, and you don't know I do this, but I don't know you, but I know what you're watching,
right?
And I appreciate it. We share very similar viewing habits.
There you go. So
to whoever
funny.
that is.
Salute
Salute to you, my friend. Well, we have winners coming up, and during those winners, we'll also discuss if the Carolina Panthers have a chance to be a winner. That's how we'll round out today's show, brought to you by the Golden Spur, next on the Early Game.
Winners.
And our winners, brought to you by the Golden Spur, as always. Well, before I get to mine, do we think the Panthers have a chance to be winners? Now, that's probably the biggest point spread of any of the playoff games that we're going to get.
What's the spread?
I think it's 10 points. I think they'll cover that. I think they will give the Rams a little bit of a scare because I think they'll be able to run the ball well enough. I think the Rams will eventually pull away. But anytime you have one of these games, even if it's a team that's under 500 hosting a playoff game, the Rams coming cross country to do it, as good as the Rams are, and as good as I think the Rams are, I think they're kind of still maybe pegged as the favorites in the NFC, and rightfully so. I can't argue that, even though if I had to pick one team, I think I'd pick Seattle. I think the Panthers, as long as Bryce Young doesn't have to throw the ball more than 30 times in this game, I think they can scare him a little bit.
They can scare him a little bit. I'd be nervous just because I just give the head coach an advantage to Sean McVay, obviously. It's not because of any. I think Dave Canales has done a great job, and he's on the come up, and he's going to be. I think he might actually end up being a solid head coach, but McVay's proven himself to be elite, and he's had a lot of playoff experience. The lemon booty factor could really kind of catch up to Canales because it's this big stage.
It is for sure, but I am still old enough to remember watching the 11-5 Saints go on the road to Seattle to a 7-9 Seattle team and Marshawn Lynch running for a bajillion yards and causing an earthquake.
Beastquake.
I wasn't a fan of that. My first winner for today, of course, brought to you by the Golden Spur. Big TVs. Jen Jensen. And also winner, Jen's neighbors. Because if you're outside and the curtains are open, you will watch whatever football game you want to. If it is on in the Jensen household, you have a fantastic view of whatever it is they're watching.
I mean, honestly. You just kind of say, yep, that's fine. But like I mentioned off air, once he said something about the races and how good it'll look, I was like, oh, well, yeah, maybe you got a point there.
Got
okay.
it there.
Yeah, we'll go. We'll do that. Yeah.
Winner in honor of the playmaker and Michael Irvin, I'm going to give a winner to any alum, anywhere, when your school gets an unexpected victory or gets to a place that you've never been before. It is a special feeling. And congrats to anybody who's a fan of the U, any alums of the U, any folks that played for the U. It is a cool time. And I think we can say this is the U is one of those places where it's like college football is kind of fun when they're good.
It is
kind of cool.
Yeah, when they're good and invested, yeah, it's awesome. I mean, I do remember watching my alma mater beat Miami in Miami, and it was maybe not even half full. They weren't invested at all. And
again, the U is a special community. It's a special place, but really cool. It was really cool seeing the picture. It was like Gino Torretta and Cam Ward were with each other taking a picture, and there's like all those dudes from all those times. I thought that was really cool.
And to answer the question, if the world of the transfer portal and constant player movement affects a player's affinity for a certain school, Cam Ward was there one year, and he was there last night. So I think those players still.
Jackson Dart was there last night also.
Jackson Dart was there for Ole Miss last night. So I think that matters. So you can give a winner to alums going back to games. But I want to give a winner, too, to home field advantage because I think that's why the Panthers will at least give the Rams a game. I don't think they win, but I think they give them a really good game. I think that's one of the reasons why I'm picking the Seattle Seahawks to get to the Super Bowl is because of that home field advantage and because I think they may be the most complete team in the NFL. But the Miami Hurricanes are going to have some home field advantage because the national championship game is played in Miami, the same stadium where they play all of their home games. We've only seen this in the Super Bowl a handful of times, twice to be exact, when the Rams won the Super Bowl and when the Buccaneers won the Super Bowl most recently. We're now seeing it in college, where technically, I guess, like 87, where Miami won the Orange Bowl and were crowned national champions. That wasn't a national championship game, but it was a BCS national championship game, but it's a game in which they earned the national championship by winning it in their home stadium. This one feels a little different.
Carson Beck.
Okay.
He wins a lot. Not just on the field, but off the field.
He does.
The man is a total absolute winner. And this is probably the end of the line for him. I don't know if the NFL is going to be a thing.
I don't think so.
But for somebody to max out the college experience, Carson Beck, sir, you've done it unlike anybody has ever done it before. Congratulations.
I think I picked Miami to win the game. I picked them to cover the 3.5. So that part's not surprising to me. But am I a little surprised that they won it because of a Carson Beck rushing touchdown on a scramble with 18 seconds left? Yes,
I got another winner. high school fan somewhere in South Florida who's been trying to tell everybody that Malachi Tony is a dog and y'all are sleeping on him. He is redeemed, or she is redeemed. Whoever it is, somebody's been screaming this since this kid's been in 8th grade. They've been like, oh, I'm telling you.
NFL kid right there.
And everyone's like, I don't know, he's kind of short, he's kind of small, he's not fast enough. Somebody somewhere has been redeemed by Malachi Tony's skill level.
Yeah, if you go to Malachi Tony's 24/7 recruiting page and you look at his high school scouting report, there was a sentence that says, won't win many foot races. I think that one has been proved to be laughably
That's why they play the game.
Erroneous. Yes. Turns out he's developed a little bit, even in the short 1 year he's been at Miami. Those are our winners for today's show. Tyler Head and Jack Veltri and Terry Ford, the Extra Point, they're winners, and they're coming up next.